All right. As always, just got to make sure all the information's going through the tubes. Looks like we're okay. Awesome. Cool. Welcome back. Session number 11. Let's take a look and see what the votes look like. Switch over here. There were two options for this one. We are either going to continue on that table cell component, which was giving me some trouble last stream. But yeah, it looks like we've got a tie. It was either that or filling out the variants that I need to fill out for a checkbox component that I completed last stream. So I guess I have to be the tiebreaker here. And because those table cells were giving me such a hard time, I'm wanting to wrap those up or just make some more progress than I did. So let's go with these for this one. Right on. Cool. So I'll switch over to our demo budget, hide the sidebar. Of course, we can use this to inspect as needed. Yeah, cool. And welcome, Adrian, Jared. See you guys hanging out in the file, watching the stream. Glad to have you. You guys can maybe help me get unstuck if I get stuck on something again. Yeah, so this is that checkbox component, but I think what I want to focus on with the cell is going to be building out more of these, which are like supportive subcomponents that will get swapped in here. And honestly, I was rewatching my last stream this morning, kind of on like double speed, really just try to, figure out like what was tripping me up so bad with this. And I think I might be, I don't know if I got the styling definitions right here. I don't know if I really should have left and right padding on these, because when we look at this screenshot and when we inspect in here, we can see that cells are kind of used almost as spacers in some of these cases. And if we go to computed, so I don't know that, like, there's no padding here on this one. We just click through some of these. Yeah, no padding on any of them. And I wonder, like, if their height is actually, let's see, height 40 pixels, flex shrink, flex grow. I'm not sure what that does, but they're set to display flex. But yeah, I'm kind of suspicious of the left and right padding that I originally set up on these. So I know I said we're going to do subcomponents, but that's a first adjustment that I want to make is let's just zero this out. Yeah, and this is kind of what I was expecting to see happen down here. Now, obviously, we could like add another, let's just hide this real quick. We could add another, oh, I'm locking them. I'm not hiding them. One of those like spacers, right? And that's maybe, this is a bit of a closer match to what's going on in real life, which isn't like, I mean, it makes me not super comfy. I try to be really, really frugal with my layers, if I can avoid adding extra, it's always good. But yeah, this might be a closer construction to what's happening. So let's start with that. We'll start with zero padding on the left and right. So what other subcomponents do we need? We have our header buttons here, but yeah, these guys, like we also need our checkbox and our caret. And something else that I noticed when I was rewatching my last stream is that what I did here was actually swap out, I grabbed one of these guys, swapped out this icon for a checkbox or for a caret, but what I think I would want to do actually is swap out the entire component. Make this whole thing swappable, and I don't know if that's the case. Yeah, all we've got are variants here. What's up, Jared? The flex grow will expand to fill the parent. That must be what's going on. Oh, for the height? I think that's what you mean, but I'll ask just to be sure. Yeah, and so then that kind of goes with what you were suggesting last stream too about, maybe we don't need to, like, I don't need to be as concerned about that 1 pixel of padding. Maybe if these are set to fill their container, flex grow, And if that's true vertically, then it's the parent frame that will be responsible for setting that height, which means, yeah, I don't need to sweat so much these like 1 pixel differences. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, this is exactly what I'm hoping for in these streams, is folks who are able to join at pretty early hour here in the US, but late afternoon and evening elsewhere. If you've got advice, I'm all ears. Oh, for the width, I think, but maybe both. Cool. Well, yeah, I think, you know, in Figma land, that makes sense. Like, we'll set these to fill. The parent will be responsible for the height. So yeah, right on. Hey, Adrian. Yeah, so what I was saying with this, originally I was swapping out that icon, but I think what I want to swap out is this entire component. And so that means this nested component also needs to be swappable. And so we'll just call this content for now. We will set up preferred instances on this, and I definitely want this button budget table header to be one of them, but we're going to add more subcomponents. So this will just be our starter. Right, so now you can see I've got swappability here. And so if I wanted that, are we calling it a chevron? Maybe, there we go, this down icon. Oh, geez, maybe that's why I didn't do this last time. It's all squashed, but let's see. Wonder how we can resolve that. So this is set to hug. When I swapped in the icon, it got set to fix. That might be because we don't have like an auto layout. Like this icon doesn't have auto layout on it. So what I would do with that, let's drag out a copy. We'll reset it. This might be an instance where I rewrap this, but I'm sort of not inclined to. I don't want to. But yeah, let's just do a couple more things that we have here. Like one of them will just need the checkbox, right? That's another one. So, oh, yep, it's searching through preferred again, which I don't want. Give me the local stuff. Yeah. Okay. And does this have auto layout on it? Okay. So I think I need a wrapper around this. So let's do that. Let's select one of these. We'll add a wrapper. We'll zero everything else out. We'll set it to hug. Call this wrapper for now. I just want to experiment to see if there's something we can do within cell to get this like squashing and stretching behaving. So, right, we've got our wrapper that will, yeah, wrap around the things that we want to be able to swap in. And am I working with those instances actually? Yeah, okay, good. These are both instances that have that wrapper on it. Of course, if this works, I'll have to add it to these variants as well. So that's set to hug. This is also set to hug. Maybe wrapper, I'm just going to play with the settings here. Fill is not what I want. Or fixed. Maybe we don't want this wrapper here. What is the best way to do this? I'm remembering, Adrian, that you actually sent me a resource to Dimitri Bruin's, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but Frames X has some, let's see. His Frames X library has some examples. I just want Figma. Let's see if we can track this down. Is this the same Dimitri? I don't think so. You mentioned, Adrian, that yeah, that you really like how he's done the table cells in that file. So I'm kind of wanting to investigate to see if maybe there's some inspiration I could get. All right, and I'm not finding it here. I just got to go over to. Here we go. There we are. All right. Looking for tables. All right, yeah, let's see how these are constructed. So here's a table cell. There's some things that we can add in. We've got text, but this would not be able to be swapped out, but this could be a component, right? This auto layout frame could be something else. So I guess, you know, these are very much optimized for like configurability. They have a lot of stuff built into them that you can like opt into, like these other icons. I expect that these probably have component properties for like showing and hiding that kind of stuff. But yeah, this is like, you know, it's not a terribly complicated construction. We just have the parent wrapper, and then what do you want to go inside of it, right? Let's see. So why am I getting this stretching effect? I'm really wanting to solve that before building the subcomponents, so that way when we swap them in, it actually behaves appropriately. It might be something to do, let's see. Yeah, it's like, okay, so what's happening here, you can see I've stretched this cell out, and the chevron hasn't continued to stretch. So now I'm kind of like in debugging mode, or like ironing some wrinkles. This is probably an auto layout wrinkle. But yeah, the way I like to kind of go about solving these puzzles is just like, you know, looking at extreme examples to see like how bad the problem actually is. And so what I can tell from this case is that when we swap something in, it's adopting the width, a width of 70 pixels, which also happens to be the width of these variants. Now these are set to hug. The labels are also set to hug. We've got all this padding happening. If we took this off, right, set that to 0 and that to 0, yeah, you can see that that is affecting this as well. So what do we do with that? Well, maybe that means that we actually should be using a swapper here. Oh, and I also just learned about this technique from some folks on Twitter that I don't think I fully have my head wrapped around, but you use like this root, this idea of like a root branch. Let me see if I can pull that thread up actually. Just a moment. I'm over here on my other monitor. But let's maybe try that. Okay, so here's the thread. All right. So Alex was asking, is there a way to get slots to work with components with a fixed height? And yeah, I guess I'm not really dealing with height issues, but I think I am dealing with a similar dilemma. Sorry, just adjusting some things on my other monitor here. Oh, and another Dimitri, different Dimitri than I was referring to earlier. But yeah, he's kind of described this. Let me zoom out a little bit here, where components that you swap into other containers that have like some sort of placeholder or are using a subcomponent, those swapped in things have this root layer. And he says, let's see, and I want to find a good description of it because I got kind of lost. I needed some help from these folks to understand what I was doing wrong. Originally, I thought that the root needed to get owned by that like that parent container, but it's not the case. It's the thing you want swapped in. You can see in this GIF, I've got these like cards set up. I've got this big gray block that's like my content that I want to swap in. And it wasn't working, but Alex came through and got in the file with me and inspected. So let's see. I want to pull that file back up actually. Let's get this open. And I'll close that window. Yeah, so what you want to have happening here Oops, not that one. Right. You want your root to have the fixed height and width. Your content can be doing whatever. And then the outer container is set to hug. And that is how you get success with this. So you can see here, in fact, I'll just demo this. We'll delete these. So, and I'll just do the one on the left. The only difference here is that there's an extra, this is my hypothesis where the root belonged on this level, but we know that's not the case. So if you're using an instance of something like a card, you want to swap in content that doesn't match, you know, the dimensions of your placeholder. That's often the case, right? So if I go to swap this in, content with fixed height, it doesn't work. It doesn't do what I want it to do. And it's not that I want to set these to fill. I mean, I could, let's see, set it to hug, right? And then like, but it's still, yeah, you know, what I want is this card to expand. So that way this block inside of it is 140 by 140 pixels. It's not working. Let me leave that be. But if we try it again with this other content block that does have that root method happening on it, so content with fixed height v2, it does expand. That is the behavior we want to see. And that is because we have our content, could be anything, wrapped inside of a fixed root inside of a hug overall parent container. So that was a really good review for me. And I have a hunch that's gonna be the thing that solves it here. So, right, this is our content. We've got all of our content here, which is just, honestly, yeah, icon, label. We'll wrap that in a root, right? We'll name that root. This will be set to hug. Maybe we actually want to adopt that like 16 left, 8 right padding on the root. Let's run that little experiment. So we'll do 16 on the left, 8 on the right. It's going to double for a hot second, but we'll just zero out that padding on the parent. Okay, now this is interesting. Some weird things are happening here. The root is set to fixed. 0. Oh, we don't want 0 space between. We do need that 5 pixels. Okay, so this is not working as I expected. So we've got our fixed icon, we've got our label, we've got our root, which is weirdly like off center. Actually, we don't want, oh, we need yet another wrapper here. I think that's what we need. So we'll say content wrapper, we'll wrap it yet again in a root that's fixed. But no, we don't want that either because the label is going to change width. So actually I take it back. We don't want to do this here. That will mess things up for us. Let's restore those values. We'll put 16 on the left, 8 on the right. Why it will mess things up is, like I said, we'll get our 5 pixel space between. We know that this label text is going to change width. It needs to be overridden to support labels like category group and undo and redo, recent moves. And so if we have any kind of fixed width container around it, it's going to mess us up. So that's not what we want. So we're still left with this dilemma. What do we do to get these icons to behave? Another trick I'm thinking about is Rid's icon wrapper method. That's definitely something we could employ here. So what I'll do is I'll draw a frame. This is going to have auto layout on it. And we'll call this icon wrapper. This is, and I've got a hunch, I might be wrong about the 7 types of components. I think there might be 8. There's these utility components that kind of keep cropping up, or maybe they're hacks, right? There's these things that we have to do to get Figma to behave in the way that we want it to. For now, I'm not going to put a little glyph in front of it, but yeah, what icon wrapper is going to do, it's going to be really basic, kind of like a slot in a way, but none of our icons have auto layout applied. But But I think this is a circumstance where we do need some sort of auto layout wrapper around them, hugging, right? To behave nicely with other components that are using auto layout everywhere. So what I want to do is, this is just a frame with an icon in it. You can grab any icon to start, and for your preferred values, we'll call this icon. We want to be able to swap in any icon, really. So let's just search for all of those. We want all of our icons to be available. Oh, okay. Those are not icons. We just want things prefixed with the word icon. That looks good. Of course, we'll add more later. Cool. So now we do have like an auto layout friendly icon, right? Just at the cost of one extra layer. Not too bad. And we can swap in all of our icons just as before. 16 by 16. No, 12 by 12. Yeah, hug. It's hugging, so whatever like height and width we need to do. And this would also be a good place to establish different sizes. Like if I wanted to, for example, maybe I want to also offer, yeah, icons at 16 by 16. I could just go in here. Let's lock this. Say 16 by 16. I could combine these as variants if I wanted. You could keep them as separate too, right? This could be your 12 by 12. This could be your 16 by 16, however you want to do it. I think whether you combine these as variants or not, yeah, there's a whole bunch of factors to consider, but you know, performance would definitely be part of it. And also just like how the designers want to work with these. Combining them as variants might make other sizes a bit more discoverable. But yeah, there's a lot to think about. So we've got this. We've got our icon wrapper. So now what I'm wondering, oh, thank you, Jared. Any thoughts on using a placeholder for the cell content? Totally. Yeah. No, that's gonna be my next move if this doesn't work out. But you're right in line with what I'm thinking too. So cool. So now what I want to try, let's grab a fresh cell here, right? And instead of swapping in an icon directly, let's swap in the wrapper. So we'll look for icon wrapper. Oops. There it is, right at the top. Hey, and there it is. That is working as I expected it to. Cool. And this is great because we are surfacing, you know, other, we're exposing nested instances of whatever that thing is that gets swapped in. We can still really easily change our icon. We could even, you know, swap for another local component like checkbox, and that looks appropriate. Okay, so this is good. We just need to make sure then, yeah, that was the fix, was making sure that whatever you swapped in has some sort of auto layout, excuse me, container. Now, I'm a little confused by that because we do have just a regular checkbox here that does have auto layout on it. And that didn't behave correctly. So I can't quite explain it fully, but we do have a working solution here by introducing that icon wrapper method. So yeah, Jared, you just mentioned, right? Potentially using a placeholder here. I do wonder if that would solve it, but it's almost, placeholders are sort of odd. Like, you know, they are very much like, it's a nice concept because it doesn't look like anything useful, right? It's just like a frame with a fill color that looks like very much not the interface that you're building. So you see it, and that's like a signal that, oh, I need to swap something in here. But mechanically, I think it's the same as any other thing, right? It's still a component. Figma doesn't officially have types of components. So like behavior-wise, like with the swapping, I don't know if it's like meaningfully different than just starting with a subcomponent, which almost makes me question like, does it make sense to have placeholders? I think it might come down to like how you like to work and how you think about these things. I find it to be a really useful like tool. And so do others. I think it's why we have slots and why it's a known like term. But yeah, okay, we are 5 minutes to 8 o'clock here, 8 o'clock in the US. I want to get at least some of these other things built. So I'm going to delete some of these like instances floating around. We know that we need some headers here. So let's call this category group name, right? These big bold things. And let's see if we have that style. We're going to componentize it. Okay, like side nav. Yeah, we might not have this yet. Let's inspect to get those values. Oh, that's the layout. What I want is the text. So we've got Lato, normal, 16 pixels, 100%, font weight 700. So let's break that. 16 pixels. I don't have the weights in here, but I think it's probably bold, maybe even extra bold. That seems right. Okay, we will componentize it. We're going to add auto layout. Yeah, zeros all the way. And this is a subcomponent. It's not, I mean, yeah, I guess it's an interface representative. Oops. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Bring that back. Okay, great. So let's try swapping this in. We've got, oh, actually this would get swapped in here. Ooh, and I wonder if we could have different preferred swaps for different variants. I feel like that's not the case. But yeah, oh gosh. Let's swap this for category. That worked. That worked great. That's exactly what we wanted to have happen. So we've got that set up. Yeah, and let's also componentize some of those other things. I kind of have a feeling I do want to do it just to set up, you know, some, yeah, some sensible swaps. And in this case, actually, we can, you know, we can kind of forego the icon wrapper because we're going to have to rewrap this icon anyway, right? To get that frame around it. So this would be our, let's see. I guess it's kind of like a expand and collapse. Oh, is it a chevron? It's a caret. So we've got that set up, and then we've got this guy. So this will also need some sort of container. Let's see, this is just our cell checkbox. Componentize that, get rid of all this padding. I so wish you guys that Figma, that you could set defaults here the same way you can like set your nudge values. I always just want things to start at 0. I guess seeing the padding can be helpful on the canvas, but yeah. Okay, great. So we've got subcomponents. Now let's see, can we set up, 1 minute to go. Let's see if we can set up defaults based on, I don't think we can, yeah, different variants. So, okay, so for our preferred values, we'll look at our local components. We want to see category group name in here. We want to see that caret, and we want to see that checkbox. Yeah, it doesn't look possible. I'm not seeing anything in the interface here that lets me say, actually, I only want to see category group name available here. And let's call this label. Let's just clean some things up here. Yeah, that's, I think, the only one we needed to worry about. So now, when working with these, let's go through and test it. It's already using this button budget header. But we've got our group name. oops, we've got the caret that is working, and we've got the checkbox. So now what we can do, if we start building this from scratch again, like if I just try to recreate this here, you know, we'll grab this. We need our, oops, my clicking is like off today. We'll get these in an auto layout group or frame, and I'll just start swapping stuff. And yep, we can set this height or the vertical resizing to fill, just like we discussed earlier. Oh, that's not the one I wanted. Gosh, all over the place today, but we've got our category group name. Now there is some like padding happening here. So maybe there is like a minimum amount that we do want to see. Maybe it's something like 2 pixels, maybe even 4. That's looking a little bit closer, right, to what's happening up there. But now we can start composing these rows very easily. And yeah, I'm coming back to it again because I think you're onto something, Jared, about maybe a placeholder is the place to start here rather than having this be the default. And I actually think I'm going to, I'm going to hide that component. Like these are, let's put them in a section. We'll call them cell subcomponents, right? They're very specific. They're not to be used other places. They are optimized for, as much as we can at least, we want to optimize them to be, the child elements of cell. So let's just kind of clean these up a bit. Cool. All right, let's go back to that screen. Neat. I feel a little bit better about the cell component this go around. Built the subcomponents. We did some auto layout wrinkle ironing. Yeah, and as always, newsletter subscribers get to vote on what gets worked on in the next stream. So I'll be sending out an email that'll go out a week from today with that poll and a recap of what happened here. So if you want to be, an influencer of what happens on Thursday, every other Thursday morning in these streams, I've got a link to subscribe down in the description. And yeah, you'll also get notified anytime I publish a new blog post, kind of averaging like every 2 or 3 months these days. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful Thursday and weekend ahead. Yeah, thank you.